Well, hello. It is the first day of autumn, September the 23rd, and as such, it is a beautiful day and perhaps one of the last best days to have a little tour around our exotic garden. The reason why it's one of the last days is because after the day, you tend to find that all your plants start to overblow. Flowering's not so good. You get storms, stuff being damaged. So this could be the last day that we're going to look at the tropical garden in its full glory. Anyway, let's go and have a look around. I think to start with, let's have a little look at an overall sort of view of the garden, try and take it all in just sort of like one single swoop. And what we'll do, we'll come back to that and we'll start walking around from one end and pointing out the things that are still looking good or work we've done to try and keep it going for a little bit longer, because it's nice to try and keep this exotic look looking as good really until the first frost can, which you can, but there is more and more work involved trying to keep it looking smart. All the fuchsias in the garden, this is Thalia, they're all still flowering their socks up and look absolutely fantastic. And with a bit of luck, there might even be a little bit more bud coming through, but there really isn't enough heat in the day or strong enough light or day length to put out more flowers. This is probably going to be the best show really for the year, and after that it's going to just start producing seed. Lost my fish. I mean, there's a little bit of flowering still to come, but you know, give it another few weeks and it really will start to slow right down. We've still got the Dahlia Imperialis. This is the smaller of the two we have. It's still going. I think if you notice there, it's split into two stems here, so it's not as tall as our other specimen, but I do think these are wonderful. And no, it hasn't got a flower in it, and we don't expect that to put any blooms out really until about November. And the problem with that is if we get a frost prior to those buds being formed, then you won't get any flowering at all. So my lovely Ricinus Impala here, that's starting to get a little bit tight. It's got very big, it's starting to fall over on its own weight, so I've had to put in a much bigger stake in there to try and support it, otherwise I can't actually get to the greenhouse. But it is looking a bit tired now. I'm hoping that once I settle down, because we only did this today, it'll look a bit more realistic. Probably still get some more height on that, but the depth of the colour is starting to go because the strength of the sun is getting less as we move into the autumn period. So the dahlias are still flowering and they're still putting out bud. Look at that, still putting out bud, you know, and they will do all the time. You keep taking off these old heads, but again, with the low light levels, they do start to stretch the stems, get thinner and weaker, and flowering will come to an end, especially when the first frost hits. But as long as you keep these dead-headed, these will keep flowering really until November, possibly December. And this is still the king of the garden. This is the massive banana that we've got here, probably standing about 3.5 meters tall. Really pleased how this has grown. This way, so big is it now. I'm hoping it's got that kind of size where in the spring it's a possibility that we'll get blooms on it for the first time. And of course, blooms mean bananas, but not edible bananas. People seem to think that you can produce bananas, and if you produce bananas you can still eat them, but no, they'll be full of seeds. You won't be able to eat it. You might have a little bit of banana pulp around the seeds, you might be able to lick that, but I probably wouldn't bother. But there you go, still looking good. And this again, this will just keep on shooting out leaves as long as it's warm enough to do so, which is probably any temperature over about 8 to 10 degrees centigrade. I've been really pleased with this border this year. It has put in a lot of height, a lot of structure. There has been some good foliage colour coming through, but we haven't had the red flowering that we normally try and get. The Crocosmia really didn't do much this year. The daylilies, I mean, they finished months ago. And we did have this sort of big stand of really lovely red dahlias. You can just see one in there, but because they really struggled to come through in the spring, they haven't performed as well as last year. They really haven't shown much at all. But we've got the Abyssinian banana in there, which isn't showing its purple so much again because it's a bit shaded, light levels are dropping, but it has put on a decent bit of size this year, so I'm really looking forward to that pulling its socks up come the spring. Both our tree ferns are still looking great. They're still being fed, they're still being watered, they're still putting out loads of growth. And unlike your other plants, when it comes to overwintering, which is something we're going to have to start thinking about in the next 4 to 5 weeks, is that once they've been covered, you can't just stop watering them. Don't forget about them. They do need watering. Stop when conditions are frozen because the water will be unavailable anyway. But you've got to keep watering them, not so much, and you've got to keep feeding them again. not so much that they start growing, but just to keep that crown in good condition, so come the spring, bounces back, sticks out loads of new fronds. Well, I'm still really enjoying my my hanging plants in the trees. Lorna is not such a big fan. She has actually banned me from putting any more in. But this Bolivian forest cacti, it is getting, you know, every week goes past, that gets a little bit longer. I really like that. I'm looking forward to bringing that back out in the spring, so it's got a much bigger head start than it did last year, because last year it was just cuttings, but they took, and look at that, really pleased with that. This poor old thing, it's not looking as good as it was before, and the reason for that is we came out one morning to find it on the floor. I don't know how it unhooked itself from the tree, but it did. Fell on the floor, it sort of collapsed the top a wee bit, but it is fine. And again, that will overwinter. We'll bring that out in the next spring as well. And this thing, the old was it the Peter variegata, which isn't its true botanical name, it's more its common name. It's done the height, isn't it? I mean, that is touching it, scraping the floor now, scraping the floor. Good height. You know, I think a bit got broken off when some people come around, but you know, what can you do? But I think next year we keep all of these, overwinter them, and we should get a much bigger display in this tree. I'm really looking forward to that. Now, this is still one of my favourite plants. This is the Fuchsia Boliviana, I think it is. It's still looking good. It thrives in these shady, cooler conditions. But I'm definitely going to overwinter this. I know some other guys, they keep these and just leave them out as they are, but I'm definitely going to put a little framework around it, bit of framework, put some protection on that, and try and keep it with all this stem on it, so that next year we get a bigger height, because these can get quite big. Can't remember off the top of my head, I think it's about 3 meters, but I'll check that and I'll put it on the screen so you know a bit more about that. But look at these lovely leaves. Oh, look at that one, look at that, look at the size of that, beautiful. Being typical of autumn, we've got big seed pods being produced, and I've got some lovely seed pods coming off this Glory Lily, and still look at that. I mean, it's like I say, coming to the last week of September and I've still got a flower left, and that's actually quite a nice one there. But we're collecting seeds off of this, we're collecting the seeds of some of the lilies, we'll collect the seeds off of these woodland tobaccos. I mean, these will probably just tip out into my hand, will it? You call me a liar? You call me a liar? There's hardly anything. But then we have had a lot of strong winds, they've probably all been blown out. What you guys? Oh, yeah, there you go, look at that. And these so easy. So we can get hold of these, you know, you can just chuck them on the floor. Guaranteed next year I'm going to have loads of those. I'm pleased about this. The old Echium pininana, the old tree Echium. We lost the big one last year. We lost all of this size that we overwintered last year, so we didn't get any tall ones this year. So next year, as long as we can keep these ones alive and it doesn't get too cold, then we'll have these massive flower spikes coming up again, and that's been superb. It's the Thunbergii elata, which is the Black Eye Susan, and we've put that on a frame. That's given a fantastic display. The only problem is, because it was in a pot, it did tend to dry out, but on the whole it hasn't really affected that too much, and it looks wonderful. So there you go, we got the framework there, and we put on a Crimson Glory vine on that, and it's starting to get there. We only put that in the spring, but it is starting to, well, it's probably about halfway across the frame. May get a little bit further by the end of the year, but again, next year I'm hoping that this will cover it. And one of the great things about this plant is, come the autumn, you get this wonderful autumn colour, very sort of darky red, and I'll show you that when it does start to do its thing, because it really is a sight to see. To continue, there's some great colours in the border, especially on the foliage side. We've got this Arundo Donax versicolor here doing its thing, sort of coming out of the border to give a little bit more drama, and behind that we've got a Sambucus, a purple one there, and that sort of matches with the purple of this Canna Cleopatra. Now it seems to fit. Oh no, there's a little bit more flower coming on. I don't know if there's another flower spike coming through, it might do, but it's, again, it may have come to an end now. The palm's put on a bit of size this year, so I'm pleased about that. That should improve last year. But one of the stars of the border is this Monstera deliciosa, the old Swiss cheese plant, that really has come on quite well. So this is one of the main focal points of the garden, because this is where we sort of see out through our kitchen windows, and we've got the banana on the left hand side here, and we've got a sago palm, not a true palm, and this is done very well. Shot out a load more new leaf, probably more leaf come out this year than it had on it when we got it. And then further into the background you've got that sort of hopefully tropical look border with colour, that kind of South American epiphytic look with all the hanging plants in the basket. Let's go and have a closer look. So there's still plenty of colour to see. These Salvia haphspens are still putting out those big buds. I really like those. Pink's not really my favourite colour, but I do like these big buds on here. And there's a colocasia here that's finally starting to put out some decent sized leaves. But it's really that kind of sort of central look where we've still got the red flower on the dahlias, red flower on the petunias. We've got the silver hanging basket of the dichondra, but I really quite like the look of this bed going through, because it's from where we're standing, it's so deep, and it's just colour, form, function and aeroplanes in the sky. So there you have it. That is probably the last tour of the garden where it's looking at its absolute best. Moving forwards, we probably will do still film a few more tours, but things won't really look as good, but it'll still be a teaching point as to how to deal with stuff as they start to deteriorate. Anyway, thank you for watching. Any questions or anything you'd like to add to that, then please leave those in the comments. We would love to hear from you, and thank you for watching. See you in the next video.